Good morning, everybody. Spin Doc here for another Thursday edition of the Spin Zone. Short slate today, and so not a whole lot of games. Only got two pitchers to cover instead of three, but still got a whole bunch of looks, a whole bunch of analysis, and dressed a little bit differently today because I get to go out on the golf course for the first time today. So my son and I are going to play 9 a little bit later and see how we feel. See if my old body can do 18 this early in the season. When you live in Minnesota, you can't golf year round. So excited to get in first round of the year. But before that, we do have some K props and some information to go over. First things first, yesterday review. I've talked about this over and over and over again. If you don't review and if you're not paying attention to how your plays did, you're not learning. Happens all the time, right? Of the stuff we talked about on the show, Keller, his pitch count was just too low early in the for the majority of the game, and turned it up and went on a little K run, a little bit deep in the game, ended up with 6. So that one was not a winner. Flaherty, who I said you could take down if you wanted, or you can play the over. That one cleared with ease. And then Hunter Brown, we were waiting for a lineup on. The Hunter Brown one was actually quite interesting because I ended up not giving it out to VIP, even though I originally had planned to, and found that there were a few things in play. And this is something, if you study this market, you should really pay attention to. Is there were a couple of things at work. Number one was the fact that the Astros, I think that it was Mario, who's actually in the chat. Good morning to Mario here. Talked about how taxed Houston's pen was. Somebody did. I thought it was Mario. If not, please correct me. Talked about how taxed Houston's pen was and how Brown did need to have at least a little bit of a semblance of a deep start. Now, there's a double-edged sword with that one, because number one is if a pitcher goes deeper, he'll face more batters. Number two is, and yeah, Mario's saying, yep, that was you. Number two is that if a pitcher goes deeper, it's not always good for strikeout props. It can be, but it's not always good. And the reason why is because if the pitcher has been instructed by manager or pitching coach, whatever, to do a lot of pitch to contact. And so these guys, especially starters in the big leagues, know how to do this, where you can either, pitch your normal routine where you're pitching 2 strike guys out, or you're pitching to contact. When you're pitching to contact, what you're doing is you're trying to induce short plate appearances so that your pitch count stays low and that you can go deeper in the game. That's actually exactly what Mitch Keller did yesterday, and was a primary reason why he ended up going over, because in his normal innings allotment that he normally gets, he only had 4 strikeouts. It was because his pitch count was so low that he was able to go a little, an inning and 2/3 extra and pick up those extra Ks. So something to pay attention to. The other thing to pay attention to, which is actually VIP cash this play, once I saw what the lineup was for the Rays, I actually ended up playing Pepio's under. And we hit that at plus 128. And the reason why, what was the delineating factor for me, was the fact that his catcher was Danny Jansen. And Danny Jansen had only caught Pepio 1 time before in his career. I will tell you this, if you're studying this market, catchers matter. Catcher and pitcher relationships matter. So when you have a catcher who has not caught a pitcher very much before, or that has done it sporadically and has a poor history with that pitcher, you can find some value in some unders. For example, this happened last year, and I reverted back to, I called back on it for VIP, was we actually played Wheeler's under the first few starts after Real Muto got hurt. I think broke his thumb or hand or whatever it was, his injury last year, and cashed it in those plays. And the reason why is because these guys, these pitchers are very routine based. They're very routine based. They're very like some of them are just fanatical about, like Corbin Burns is well known for this. Corbin Burns is just fanatical about his routine and what he does on game days, what he does the day before a start, and so forth. And so when you put another catcher with them, it's not just turnkey, because these guys are not used to, okay, on a 2-2 count with one out in, one on, what do I like? What does he like to get? The catchers do their best job, but catchers do matter. And so when I saw Danny Jansen was there with Pepiot, I also saw that in the one game that Danny Jansen had caught Pepiot before, he threw a lot of changeups versus his four-seam fastball. I mentioned on the show yesterday that the Angels had some guys that could whiff to a four-seam fastball, but what they didn't whiff to was a changeup. And so Danny Jansen did call a lot of changeups yesterday. Pepiot kind of got rocked. He had a huge high pitch count and cash. So I'm saying all of this not to brag or say that VIP cash something, but more, these are things that you can look at. So always pay attention to the catcher. If you ever want to know how many games a pitcher has with that catcher, Baseball Reference is a really, really good site for that. It's got free information. You just go to the pitcher's career stats and then just do a search for the catcher's name, and it'll tell you how many games they had, how many plate appearances they've had, and how many strikeouts they have with that catcher. I actually like comparing the number of strikeouts, or the strikeout, sorry, not the number, K percentage of a pitcher with one catcher versus another if it's not his regular catcher. So for example, if Tarik Skubal ever were to have another catcher besides Jake Rogers, because Rogers is the only guy that catches him, I would take notice of what the line is, and I would for sure take notice of what any other catcher does with Tarik Skubal. A lot of other guys are examples, but these, especially the aces on staff, these are guys that work with the same catcher over and over and over again because the catchers matter a lot. I would actually argue that the catchers matter more than the umpire does as far as delineating between them. So the other thing that I have noticed too is that a lot of these guys, we're starting to see a more normalized baseline now. So for the first couple starts, it was kind of volatile. You were seeing guys kind of post K totals all over the place. Now, what you can look for is, are guys jumped in a line? Do guys' lines jump, or are they dropped? And if they jump or they drop, to try to figure out what the reason for that is. We have a guy with like this we're going to talk about today. And so what is the reason behind that? Because there's always a reason. There's always a reason behind it. It's either it could be the books expect him to go longer. Books expect him to go shorter. They expect, because strikeout props are often based on past history, past most recent average, and the history that the pitcher has with that opponent. So when something varies from that, it's something that you have to pay attention to. So overall, that was what we learned yesterday. Overall, the ones that, because I said we were waiting on Hunter Brown, the ones that I told you, the one that I told you to play for a half unit in Keller, it was right around even money or at plus. We actually got it at plus money because I gave it up to VIP too. That lost. The other two, the Flaherty won with ease and kind of torched the Yankees. I feel bad for Jack because he didn't even get the win. Pitched his ass off, and I actually kind of feel bad for. I actually kind of feel bad because we were watching this one. I kind of feel bad for Fetty too, because Eric Fetty, I don't know if you watched that or saw that game yesterday, but Fetty, 6 innings, no hits, no earned runs. And he did walk 4, but had a no-hitter. And not only did he not obviously finish the game, but he didn't even pick up the win. Because Pittsburgh won an extra inning. So anyways, we will move on to today. So I have 2 pitchers because we have a really, really, really light slate. But let's just real quick, a couple shout outs from the chat. Roger, good morning. Thank you. Appreciate that. Love talking about it. So Appreciate it. And Flow Creator, welcome in. Good morning as well. And let's go to work. Go get them. My guy, welcome in. Welcome in. All right. So the first one that I want to talk about today, because I'm actually going to give you guys for the second one, is I believe going to be the most public prop K prop of the day, pitcher prop of the day by a mile. So we'll talk about the one that won't be first, and then I have something extra to show you for the one that will be. So the first one that we have to talk about today is Mr. Ryan Feltner. Ryan Feltner out in Colorado, a name that some of you might not even recognize, but he's a guy that's actually provided a little bit of sneaky value for us over the past season and a half here. So Ryan Feltner gets the Brewers today. His overall K percentage for the year, not the greatest, 19.7%. He gets Milwaukee, and he's carrying a total of 4.5 for his strikeouts, with the over at plus 112, under at minus 142. That's pretty universal across the board. So we'll go to our swing chart here and we'll get to work. So for Feltner, when I look at playing a K prop on the Brewers, I used to look at the zone contact, because if you can see here, they are below average in zone contact at 84.6, but they are above average at 62.8. Now, Feltner does spend about league average in the zone. His zone contact is right about league average. Now, where he's getting guys, where he's really been doing a good job this year is in that chase contact. He doesn't get guys to chase a ton, but when he does this year, and again, limited sample size, only allowing 31.8% chase contact. Now, I will qualify that because that's only been in 173 pitches. His chase contact for his career is at 57.2. You can see that that's under league average of 62.5. Feltner is a pretty traditional pitcher, four-seamer, changeup, slider. Now, what's new about Feltner this year is that he is using his sweeper more. So he only used it 5% last year, threw it almost exclusively to righties. He's still throwing it to righties, but he is using it 13% of the time. This is his best get out pitch. It has a 50% whiff percentage. It has almost a 17% put away percentage. The put away percentage, for those that don't know, is the percentage of the time that pitch is actually used to strike somebody out. So I go to the projected Brewers lineup and I look at a couple things. Number one is, even though they haven't seen a ton of sweepers this year, they have seen a lot of them in past years, so we can use that to use it. So if you're looking at the top guys in the lineup, Turang, Chourio, Yelich, Contreras, and I look at their whiff percentage to the sweeper, I see that Chourio is at 33%, Yelich is at 32%. I see that a couple other guys that are projected to be in this lineup, even especially towards the bottom, such as Oliver Dunn, is at almost 40%. And then you also have Contreras, who's at 43%. So you have a lot of potential whiff percentage to this sweeper. The other thing that I see with Feltner is that I see that he does with his chase contact, he can neutralize some of the extra contact that the Brewers make in the zone. The other thing that I see with the Brewers is when you go up and down their lineup, and I talked about how their zone contact is a little bit under league average. There are some guys that are projected to be in this lineup that are way under league average. So I have you can see here the league average is 85.3. You have Yelich at 63.5, Contreras at 69.1, Chourio's at 80. You have about six of the 9 projected guys that are under league average when it comes to zone contact. Same thing, Oliver Dunn's at 69. You got guys that are under 70. And when you're making contact under 70% for swings in the zone, and then you got a pitcher who this year with the use of that sweeper is getting a lot more whiffs and using that pitch more. This is something where when you combine it with the plus money, if we get this lineup, I'm not going to be afraid to take a shot on Feltner at over 4.5 here. I don't want to make it an official show play yet because I do need to see what this lineup looks like. I need to see what the construction of it is. I want Contreras in there. I want Dunn in there. I don't really mind Chourio in there right now. Garrett Mitchell is projected to be in there. I would love to have Garrett Mitchell in there. His zone contact is under average as well. So if we get this lineup, especially if we get it as constructed, and Feltner is still at plus money, I'm not going to be afraid to take a shot on this over. Now, a couple things with Feltner is that he is primarily four-seamer and changeup, and the pitches that he throws are pitches, and we'll have a segment at some point here in the future in the Spin Zone. Today is not the day because this is not the right pitcher for it, about why some pitchers struggle to strike guys out and to get guys out at Coors Field. Everybody talks about there's a lot of runs at Coors and it's at altitude and the air is thinner but there's a scientific reason why that happens. That I have a whole thing that I can show you about why that happens and why that occurs. This is not the pitcher to do it because this is not the pitch mix. The four-seamer and the changeup actually play just fine out at Coors, especially with the way that Feltner throws them, with the amount of vertical drop and the amount of horizontal movement that he has. So the air and the atmosphere shouldn't really impact that. So we will. I'm going to put an earmark. I'm not going to say that I want to go forth and bet it right now, but I'm going to put an earmark to make sure that we get this lineup. And if we do, I'm not going to be afraid to try Feltner with the over 4.5, especially if we can still get it at plus money. So, all right. So that's the non-public play. I mean, everybody knows what the public play is today. It's Jesus Luzardo. Of course, we got to talk about this guy. Jesus Luzardo is absolutely dominating. He's dominated in spring training. He's dominating now. He's got an absolutely absurd in limited sample size, but my Lord, 46.8% K percentage. That's not sustainable. That's not going to last for the whole season. Like not even Nolan Ryan in his prime did that, anywhere close to that. So that number will go down, but he is off to an absolutely electric start. Gets the Braves tonight, 7:15 Eastern. Now, here's the moment. He's striking out the world. He gets a Braves team that has had some strikeout problems. He also gets a Braves team that has had some problems with the pitches that he throws, but we're only getting a 5.5, and they're making you pay gaudy juice on it. Now, if you studied these lines overnight, because I usually look at the late night lines before I go to bed and then reference them in the morning, Luzardo opened at most books at a 6.5. And not that I really pay attention to Twitter or X Steam, but if you're taking this, you're probably not taking the under here. You're probably not taking the under on the Braves, but yet the line has gone down, and it's gone down where if you want the 5.5, you're going to have to pay some pretty absurd juice. Now, the next graphic I'm going to show you is why I think that is. And I see Mario saying Luzardo be traded to the Phillies, such a great move. Oh God, yes it was. Oh yes it was. He has already talked about how much he's learned from Wheels and Nola and from the whole staff that they have there. It's just been such a phenomenal move for him. If he even keeps doing a fraction of what he's doing now, and Sanchez does, this Phillies team is going to rival the Dodgers for the best rotation in baseball. I will stand on that, because those four, I mean, even if they do close to what they're doing now, Wheels and Nola are Wheels and Nola. Can you imagine that team in a playoff series? Good luck. Good luck. I mean, their bullpen will be as fresh as a daisy. So, anyways, let's go back to Luzardo. All right. So I have another. So this is normally what I make when I give VIP when I have VIP and give them a play. But I'm going to show it to you guys because we haven't officially played it yet. So this very colorful chart that you can see is an entire breakdown of Jesus Luzardo and every pitch that he throws, the whiff percentage to it, the contact zone and chasing outside of the zone. And I do this because I like to see it visually and then assign a projected strikeout value to see if the line makes sense. So looking at this, I see a couple things. And the way that this chart's organized, by the way, is that it's on a sliding scale. So the lower numbers are in green. And then as you go up, it shades more to red. So I do that to call out, like, obviously where the potential danger or dead spots are. So I first look at dead spots and I see Albus in leadoff, which he should be, and that's going to be a dead spot. I also look at the 5-hole in Murphy. I don't necessarily consider it to be a dead spot because Luzardo has got him once in 6 plate appearances. He does have a decent whiff percentage to the slider, but the reason why I assigned him the 0.25, which is the lowest value that I assign, is because of his whiff percentage to the sweeper. Now, Luzardo added a sweeper this year. So it's not something that he threw in regular rotation. He's added it this year and he's throwing it 24.2% of the time. And that's been his main out pitch. The sweeper has an absolutely absurd 52.9% whiff percentage. I don't think that's going to maintain either, because if it's anywhere close to that, that would be like one of the best marks that a pitcher has ever posted for that pitch. And the reason why it's so effective is because Luzardo's fastball velo is up. It's up from 95.2 to 96.8. He's hitting 98, 99 on the gun. But then he's coming at you with this looping sweeper at 86.3 miles per hour. As a hitter, you have no idea how difficult that is, because his fastball runs if you're looking at it like a clock, his fastball runs from the 9 to 11 range, while his sweeper loops and lopes down in the 4 to 6 range. So you think about that, 2 completely different pitches, completely different spin patterns, completely different directions, 10 miles an hour apart from each other. Yuck, yuck, yuck. When that is working, whoever added the sweeper to his repertoire should get a medal. So anyways, I go back to the lineup here, and the reason why I assigned Murphy as a low value for a strikeout is 1, past history, 2, because he doesn't swing very much outside of the zone. He doesn't chase that much. You can see that on over here on the left-hand side. This is how often guys swing. Right here is how often they make contact. So Murphy does not chase outside of the zone. So when that big looping sweeper comes in, he can take it. He also has only a 27.5% whiff percentage to a sweeper, which is well under league average. It's certainly lower than what Luzardo's carrying right now. Then I go and I look at the top part. Who's going to K? Brian De La Cruz is going to K. His whiff percentage of some of these pitches is gaudy. He's making contact 25% of the time. When he chases, that's bleh. That's bleh, bleh, bleh. And Harris will K as well. Luzardo's already gotten him before he added these pitches 5 out of 10 times. You can see his whiff percentage to the sweeper at 44.2. That's bleh. And Luzardo does strike out lefties more than he strikes out righties. So if Harris is in the lineup, he's going to K. If De La Cruz is in the lineup, he's going to K. I also suspect that Austin Riley will K. I assigned him a 0.75 just because he doesn't have that strong of a whiff percentage against the sweeper, and because he only has he has K'd 6 times, but it's in 20 plate appearances. So I didn't feel comfortable saying it was 50-50. The 0.75 means it's more likely than not that Austin Riley will strike out versus not 50-50. The 0.5 means he's probably, means it's basically he could or he couldn't. And then the 0.25 means it's unlikely that he will strike out. So, and then obviously down there, Eli White at the bottom, never faced Luzardo before, hasn't really faced many pitchers that are of Luzardo's caliber, and still has a 31.8% K percentage. I feel comfortable putting him for 1. I would put him for possibly even a little bit more if he was batting higher in the lineup, because I only figure that Luzardo will face him 2 times, maybe 3, but based on his outs, probably 2. So all of that adds up together, and I get 5.75. And so that tells me that the 5.5 is probably the right number, depending on lineup construction. If we get De La Cruz higher, if we get Harris higher, or if White won't bat higher, or if we get some other lineup change, that might alter it. And that's why almost exclusively I don't play K props until the lineup is released, because I need to know where these guys are hitting. So for example, if all of a sudden De La Cruz and Harris are out and you got 2 high contact, low whiff guys to the splitter end, this total potentially can go down. So just wanted to give you guys a visual to kind of show where I'm at and kind of how I feel out where a K prop is at. And all this information, all this whole chart is readily available using the math model that I use. Like I said, the one thing that I don't talk about, like the secret sauce, so to speak, I do come up with 6.27. So I come up with 5.75 here. I come up with 6.27 for a weighted average of right around 6. So the 5.5 is right. I would expect this line to if this line goes up to 6.5. Post lineup release, I actually would feel more comfortable and more safe taking the over. Now, if this line and the juice on the 5.5, on the over 5.5 drops after the lineup is released, or if we get something completely different from this, I'm going to have to reassess. So that's where I'm at with Luzardo right now. And again, for VIP plays and those of you that are in it, you get one of these. This is what I pretty much do for most every pitcher that I give out, because it helps to see it visually about where do the Ks come from. And what I look for is a couple things. Number one is I always look for high potential K spots. Number 2, I look for dead spots. And if I'm taking an over, there's only a few dead spots that I can have. And the reason why that is because if you don't, and this was one of the delineation points with Pepio last night, is that the top 3 spots in the Angels lineup with Ward, Shanuel, and Mike Trout were all, based on all these numbers that you're seeing here, because I ran one for him, all dead spots. Every single one of them was a dead spot. And so I said, if he's going to get 6 strikeouts, he's going to have to get multiple guys multiple times. Now Logan O'Hoppe was a dumbass and struck out 3 times. I have him in a fantasy league. That's why I'm so salty about it, even though we cashed the prop. Now he got O'Hoppe 3 times, but that's abnormal. That doesn't usually happen. And so that's what I look at when I'm looking at going one way or the other, is how many guys is he going to have to potentially get multiple times? Because there are guys that are high, that are even like Chris Taylor, who's one of the highest, like high whiff, high K hackers. Jose Siri, another one, hackers that there is. It's still not as likely as you think for a guy to strike out 2-3 times in a game. So again, O'Hoppe did it last night, but that hasn't happened for him in quite a while. So just wanted to give you kind of an update on what I see here for Luzardo. So no official look or lean on Luzardo yet. I will tell you that I talked about how the Mariners are on no under island for me yesterday. The Braves are pretty well entrenched there too. So for me, if the lineup doesn't cooperate to what I want to and need to see, and or line movement, juice movement, etc., then I feel totally comfortable with just throwing Luzardo out, taking a free lesson, and seeing how the Braves approach him, because the sweeper is the pitch that's getting him all of his Ks and all of his flowers right now. And that's a pitch that hitters are not used to him throwing. So after his third, fourth, fifth start, I'm interested to see what's going to happen here and how guys are going to adjust, especially teams in the division when they see him the second time and third time, how they adjust to that sweeper. So he's got some cover right now. And you see that with a lot of guys. If you ever want to look and try to find a guy that you might want to look for an over, I tell people all the time, go on Savant and see if they added a pitch, especially an out pitch, a sweeper, a splitter. Those are usually the two. Sometimes a curve can do it, but not usually. A sweeper and a splitter are the main two. So like a couple of years ago, Tyler McGill added a splitter, and his first couple starts, he was like K'ing at like a 38% clip, which was like way above anything. People are, oh my God, like how is he doing this? Well, he added a pitch that guys haven't seen before. Then guys then guys catch up, and then things regress to the mean. So anyways, all right. Couple comments here. Roger asks, what's the difference between the first K percentage and the one at the end of the chart? Good question. Let me put it back up. That's a great question, Roger. So on this chart, the first one here is the hitter. The first one on the left next to the hitter's name is their strikeout percentage for the season on all pitches, all pitchers. It's basically, it's their strikeout percentage for the year. On the far right is what is their strikeout percentage lifetime against Luzardo. So you see Albus has a 12.5% K percentage against every hitter. He's struck out 2 out of 14 times, which is 14.3% against Luzardo only. So this is every pitcher for the entire season, and this is only against the pitcher that they're facing today. That's a great question. All right. That will do it for today. Just a few more shout outs. I see Go Get 'em saying I drank the juice at 6+. Like I told you on DM too, man, it's over or nothing against the Braves. You just can't take an under on them right now because hopefully you can see by some of the deep red that is in those numbers. You just can't take an under on them right now. They're just not swinging disciplined enough. Mom Who Bets always with us. Good morning. And Adams Digest saying, yeah, Ozuna isn't swinging, which is crazy. No, he's not. He's not this year so far. He's actually been super, super disciplined. His number and De La Cruz's zone swing was another one because De La Cruz was a pretty reliable swinger last year. So at least not so far. They're not swinging. So we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. And Slim, welcome in, saying cash those bases last night in the clutch. All right. So that will do it for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you for being with us. Back tomorrow for a huge slate, and it's going to be Friday, so you know where I'm at on Friday afternoons. I'm on with Sharpie tomorrow. I've told you before, Sharpie's bets. If you don't follow him, you need to. The man knows his shit, so he and I will be teaming up tomorrow, and appreciate the shout out. Welcome, and thanks for being with us, trying to rob FanDuel. Appreciate you as well. So thank you, everybody. Again, last piece of advice I can give you is just because there's baseball today does not mean that you have to bet. Thursdays are moving days, and moving days obviously being, one team's moving out, teams are going to their next thing. You can find value in Thursdays, but in general, with the light slate, with it being a travel day, with it being moving day for teams, we do tend to keep it light on Thursdays just because you see some wonky stuff on moving days. So like I said, don't feel like you have to bet everything because there's a huge weekend slate coming up. Every team is in action, I believe, tomorrow and throughout the weekend. So we'll be with you with a whole bunch more props and looks. Best of luck if you're tailing. See you later.